Here we're going to explore the micronutrients, that is the vitamins and the minerals. We're going to start first with the vitamins. Micronutrients as a whole are nutrients that are only needed in extremely small quantities. They do not act as an energy source for the body because they have no calories or caloric value. Specifically, the vitamins function as coenzymes, so that is, they work as part of enzymes in order to help make that enzyme function more efficiently or function correctly. And we saw that enzymes can either work to break down things in the body or build up things or construct things in the body. Specifically, if we're talking about the digestive system, we have encountered enzymes that help to break down or digest things like carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. But there are other enzymes that help our bodies properly use those carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids in the cells, in the tissues, in order to make things. So most vitamins are not made by the body, but there are a few of them that are constructed or built within some of our cells and tissues. So a couple of examples of vitamins that are made in the body are things like vitamin D. Vitamin D is primarily made in the skin. We see that ultraviolet light from the sun creates a vitamin D precursor in the skin, and then the kidneys can use and convert that vitamin D precursor into the active form of vitamin D. In general, vitamin D assists with things like calcium absorption in this, across the endothelium of the small intestine. And so vitamin D plays a really critical role in aiding in the development and maintenance of the skeleton, because the skeleton needs that calcium in order to maintain bone mass and bone strength. We see that bacteria in the large intestine function to make some of the B vitamins as well as vitamin K. B vitamins are really important in the formation of nucleic acids like DNA and RNA, which are really critical during cell mitosis, cell division, and forming new cells, especially to rebuild tissues. Vitamin K is important in producing important blood clotting factors, and insufficient production of vitamin K can lead to certain types of anemias where the body is not able to make red blood cells correctly. So it's important to keep in mind that no single food source contains all vitamins, or even all types of nutrients, including the macronutrients for that matter. So we see that a variety of foods in the diet is really important in order to obtain not only all of the important macronutrients for us to function and for our bodies to function correctly, but a variety of foods is also important to obtain the proper amounts of vitamins and minerals as well. So a quick scan of the major dietary sources of the B vitamins in this table here shows that most of the B vitamins come from things like meats, grains, as well as a mixture of vegetables. Many B vitamins, as I mentioned previously, function as coenzymes in metabolism of things like glucose and proteins, or they also function in the synthesis of nucleic acids during cell division. So we see cell division occurring when cells and tissues are being constructed, but then also during tissue repair and things like that, when the tissues are making new cells to replace damaged or worn out cells. Next, we have at the bottom of the table, we have vitamin C, which primarily comes from citrus fruits, tomatoes, as well as broccoli. Vitamin C functions in collagen synthesis, which is an important protein fiber. And vitamin C helps to strengthen the collagen fibers that are found in the bones, the cartilage, and in the ligaments. So this helps to explain why vitamin C deficiency causes what's called scurvy, where the teeth will tend to fall out because of the weakening of the ligaments that hold the teeth into the sockets. But vitamin C deficiency also weakens the blood vessels because it weakens the amount of collagen that are present in the walls of the blood vessels. Vitamin A primarily comes from dark green vegetables such as spinach and kale, as well as orange-colored vegetables like carrots. Vitamin A is really important in constructing visual pigments in our eyes, so it's important in maintaining good vision because the eyes cannot function without those visual pigments being present to capture and convert light into electrical impulses that our nervous system can interpret. Vitamin D, in addition to being manufactured in the skin when the skin is exposed to sunlight, also comes from dairy products. Vitamin D, as I mentioned previously, is important in the absorption of minerals like calcium, but it's also really important in helping to absorb other minerals like phosphorus as well. Particularly calcium and phosphorus that we've ingested from our foods and that are crossing from the walls or from the lumen of the small intestine into the bloodstream when they can be used. Next, we have vitamin E, which is primarily obtained from vegetable oils as well as nuts, and it's an important antioxidant. And what this means is that when metabolism breaks down or creates different compounds for our body, it creates oxidized molecules that have the potential to damage our cells, our membranes, or our DNA. And what vitamin E functions to do is to help eliminate and remove those oxidized substances. Finally, we have vitamin K, which is found in green vegetables as well as teas, and in addition to being manufactured by bacteria that are found in the large intestine. As I mentioned previously, vitamin K is an important component of several blood clotting factors that are then created by the liver. So now that we've finished up with a basic overview of the vitamins, let's briefly examine the minerals. So the minerals, just like the vitamins, are only needed in extremely small quantities. These are another important classification of micronutrient. The minerals are also not a source of energy. They have no calorie value in them, so when we digest them or when our body metabolizes them, they don't yield any calories for energy. And in general, minerals that are obtained from the diet come from legumes, which are the biological term for the beans, vegetables, as well as milk, in addition to salts that are added to foods, like table salt. The minerals have a whole host of important functions. The minerals strengthen the hard, tough structures in our body, like bones and teeth. Minerals are really important in water balance. Sodium is going to be the primary mineral that we're going to examine that helps to maintain water balance in the blood and in the tissues. As we've seen back in Anatomy 1, the minerals like sodium and potassium are really important in both proper nerve and muscle function. And certain trace minerals act as really vital components of cells or vital components of proteins. So for example, the iron that's found in the protein hemoglobin in our red blood cells, so that iron helps to carry oxygen. That's an important mineral that's found in the hemoglobin. And there's also other important minerals like iodine, which is another mineral that's an important component in a hormone, particularly the hormones that are made by the thyroid gland. And those are important hormones that help to regulate our metabolic rate and our body heat production. So we'll examine those when we get to the endocrine system in a few additional weeks. So just examining some of the major functions of some of the minerals in the body, we see that calcium, starting at the top here of this table, is an important mineral that is a mineral that helps to strengthen bones and teeth. It also assists in the proper function of nerves and muscles. We see that foods like dairy products are rich in calcium, as well as certain dark leafy vegetables like kales and spinaches. Phosphorus is another important mineral that's found in both bones and teeth, and it's also heavily comes from dairy products as well as certain grains. Next we have potassium, which is a very critical mineral in nerve function as well as acid-base balance. We'll examine the acid-base balance that is regulated by the kidneys in the next module. And potassium mostly comes from both meats as well as dairy products. And then sodium primarily comes from table salt, and sodium is the main mineral that's involved in regulating both water balance as well as blood pressure by the kidney. couple of other important minerals that we've mentioned are iron, and iron is an important mineral component of the protein hemoglobin that's found in our blood. So recall that the iron atom in the middle of the heme group is what helps to bind and carry oxygen in the bloodstream. We see that meats, particularly red meats, eggs as well as beans, are really important dietary sources of iron, but spinach is also an important dietary source of iron as well. And finally, we have iodine, which is a critical component of thyroid hormones and primarily comes from seafoods as well as salts that have had iodine added to it as a mineral nutrient and component. So we would call that salt that is enriched by iodine, because most salts naturally do not have a lot of iodine or any iodine in them. They're just either sodium or potassium. So a lot of iodized salts have had iodine artificially added to them by humans just so we obtain enough iodine in our diets every day, even if we're not eating large amounts of seafood.